our final example today will be writing out this image that we've stored into the database. So recall in the last example, we stored information into our test.db. Now we're going to write that information out. So once again, we're going to import SQLite and the system library. We're going to create one method in this module, which is called extractImage.py that you can see in the package SQL. And we're going to then, in that particular method, we're going to open a file car.jpg. What we're actually doing is creating something called car.jpg. You can see that W for write is being created or being applied. So we will write a blob B, and we will write that information. So we're going to take an input called data, which is essentially the binary data that we had from before, and then write it out into our car.jpg. So the car.jpg is an empty file that will then be populated with data. So that's what's going on in 21 and 22, line 21 and 22. And then we're going to close that file stream and then just close it down here and handle any exceptions in lines 24 through 26. So closing it will occur there. Okay, so that's what's going to happen. Now, that is just the one method that we've created. To actually run this module, we have line 34 and below. To do that. So like before, we'll have a series of operations starting with connecting to the database in line 36. We will access the cursor as the order usually requires us to in SQLite, where we have to get the cursor. We will firstly get the image before we then write it out. So we need to select or find the image. So you can see that we're going to select image from cars. So image is, remember, that's the category that we created in reference to the table. So cars is the table where ID equals 7. That is where the ID of the car is equal to 7. So we're getting all images, but within those images, or we're selecting the images, excuse me, but we're only getting the specific image in reference to ID number 7. That is from cars. So ID number 7 from image in the cars table is what we want to return. So we're going to get that image from ID number 7. And then we fetch that data, so you can see it, we're getting it there. So that's getting us that specific image input binary data that we've done before in the previous example. We're going to fetch it, so fetch 1. We get the data, and then we're going to write that image. So it's going to call that method we just mentioned earlier. So write image is called in line 48, so that goes into this method here. And that's where we're going to create car and then write that data output. So all this is doing essentially is applying line 42, that is selecting the specific image we want, fetching that data, then writing that data out. Once again, we handle any exceptions, and then we close the connections to the database in line 56, the finally clause. Okay, so that's what this is going to do. So what we should see is an SQL package. We should see a file called car.jpg with essentially the same image that we saw in Hummer. So remember, this is what our Hummer image looked like. So now we should see what our car image is going to look like if we run this. So let's run it as a Python, and it's executed. Let's update to see if it's run properly. We'll refresh. So you can see there's a file called car.jpg now in SQL. We double click, and there it is. Car.jpg is indeed the Hummer that we had from before. So that shows you we've extracted the file, the Hummer file, in reference, or that was stored in the test.db. So essentially what we did is access that Hummer image from car number 7 in the table called cars. So that's all that code is doing, and that shows you how you extract the image.